here from MuscularDevelopment.com. We are back for another episode of MD Training 101. Guys, today's episode brought to you courtesy of Iron Rebel Power Gear. Make sure to check out their full line of men and women's apparel along with training gear at www.ironrebel.com. Now, for those of you tuning in for the very first time, this MD Training 101 series is going to be a very basic training series showing people who are just getting started in weight training or people looking to get back to basics how to get things started on the right foot. Today's episode, we're going to be focusing on a back workout. Not going to waste any time. Let's get things started. All right, guys, we're going to start off today's workout with the deadlift. Now, the deadlift is as basic as it gets, but it's one of those exercises that should be incorporated into almost any routine, whether you're a beginner or an advanced weight trainer that's been at it for years. Again, a very basic exercise. Essentially, guys, all you're doing is leaning over, grabbing the weight, and standing up with it. But as with any exercise, we want to make sure that form is our top priority, so we're going to go over some of the basics. Now, for weight training purposes, I prefer a traditional style deadlift, and by that I mean feet about shoulder width apart. I'm going to go with a conventional overhand grip a little bit wider than my feet are going to be. Now, for powerlifting, we do see sometimes guys like to do a sumo deadlift where the feet come out a little wider and it's an inner grip. Again, for today's purposes, guys, we're just going to focus on a traditional style deadlift. Again, you're going to have your feet about shoulder width apart. Generally speaking, most guys are most comfortable that way. Your arms are going to be just slightly outside of your feet. Now again, it's a very basic exercise. You're just going to lean over, grab the bar. You're standing up with it, locking out at the top, and back down. Now guys, this is a very basic exercise, but some of the things you're going to want to focus on as far as your form, make sure you're doing this lift right, is A, keeping your butt down, and B, making sure your chest is up with a nice arch in your back. What I mean by keeping your butt down is when you get down to start the lift, you're going to want to be right here, butt down, head up. You see a nice arch in my back. What we're not doing is we're not letting my back roll over like this or my butt come up in the air. One of the biggest mistakes and most common mistakes that we see with the deadlift is when guys get in, they get in their position. When they go to lift, the first thing that happens is their butt comes up, and then they do the entire lift with their lower back. That's not what we want to do. Again, we're going to get our feet shoulder width apart, butt down, chest up, and make sure that we're getting a good, clean lift. Sometimes looking up at a spot on the wall or the ceiling can help keep you in that right position. But again, butt down, chest up, let your legs and your back do the work. This isn't a stiff-legged deadlift, guys. This is a full body motion. Guys, next up we're going to be doing the wide grip lat pull down. Now these machines can be found in pretty much any gym across the country. If you're working out in a real old school facility, a pull-up bar, or even doing wide grip pull-ups on a squat rack is a good alternative. But again, these machines can be found pretty much anywhere. Now again, it's a very basic exercise that we're going to be doing here for the lats. First thing you're going to do is start off by adjusting the knee pad, guys. You want to make sure you're in there good and firm. You don't want too much give coming up and down in the exercise. So once you get your knee pad adjusted, pick a wide grip bar that you like. This is a pretty standard bar. It's cambered a little bit at the ends. Some people prefer a straight bar. Some people prefer the bar where your hands are turned in. Again, just a matter of personal preference for this one. As you guys can see, I'm wearing wrist straps. Now, if you're doing real heavy back workouts and you have a weak grip like me, you want to make sure that you use these straps. They're going to allow me to make sure that my back is getting fatigued without my wrists giving out before I hit failure. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to get a good wide grip on this bar. I'm going to sit down, get my knees firm under the pad, and I'm just pulling right down above my collarbone, right here. It's going to be a real smooth motion, right down, touching the top of your chest. Now, some of the most common mistakes that we see on the lat pull down is guys leaning back, using their lower back too much, and turning it into almost like a row. And I'm sure you guys have seen this at the gym, people doing one of these, where they lean forward and they pull back like this. That's not what we want to do, guys. We want to be using our lats to do the exercise, not our lower back or momentum. Another mistake that we tend to see in the lat pull down is people pulling it out and down in front of their chest, similar to this. And we don't want to be doing that either, guys. We want to be making sure our chest is arched up, back is in a good, nice curved position, and we're pulling down right to the top of our collarbone. Now you're going to want to get a good squeeze at the bottom end. This can be a difficult exercise to actually hold the weight at the bottom end, but again, make sure you're getting a good contraction, a good squeeze, and really working the muscle. All right, guys, next up is going to be the bent over row. Now, as with our other exercises and everything we do here in MD Training 101, this is going to be a very, very basic exercise, guys. You're going to stand off with your feet about shoulder width apart as you would for a deadlift. The grip is going to be similar to the deadlift as well, just outside of your feet. Now, what we're going to want to focus on is making sure, again, we keep that back arch. You're not having a hump in your back. Chest big, back arch, butt down. Make sure we're focusing on good form. We're going to get that grip about shoulder width apart. Again, the start of this exercise is going to look very similar to a deadlift as far as positioning, with your butt down and your back big. Except instead of standing up with the weight, we're going to be rowing it. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that we see in this particular exercise, as with a lot of things in weight training, is people using too much weight and using momentum to do the work instead of the muscle. When we see that, a lot of times we'll see guys leaning up too much, trying to jerk the weight up. Now, it's okay to use a little bit of momentum, guys. This is a heavy, basic exercise. It can be difficult to keep really perfectly strict form, but again, we want to make sure we're letting the back do the work and not momentum. And also, when you use too much weight, too much momentum, that's when you put yourself at risk of getting injured. So again, shoulder width apart, butt down, grab the weight. Again, sometimes it helps for you beginners. Pick a spot on the wall, look up. It helps get that natural arch in your back and your chest up. So we're gonna be right here. Again, you're gonna get the weight off the floor, head up, nice arch in your back, chest big. I'm just gonna roll right up to your stomach. All right, guys, next up we're going to be doing another variation of the lat pull down, except this time we're going to be using a close grip. Work a little bit more of that meat in the lower middle back. A little bit different feel than the wide grip lat pull down, but again, a very basic back exercise. Now, as far as the principles of this exercise, it's going to be very similar to the wide grip pull down. Want to make sure you're letting your back doing the work. You're not leaning back too far. You're not bringing the weight down out in front of you. It's going to be coming down just over your collarbone. Again, getting the pad in a good comfortable position is important. Wrist wraps, if you're using a weight, that becomes a little bit difficult to hang on to. And get in the machine, get seated, get in a good comfortable position, and get to work. Now, as you can see, I'm bringing the weight down just above my chest towards the collarbone again. Not leaning back too much, I'm not bringing the weight out in front of me. All right, guys, and our last exercise in today's back workout is going to be the one-arm dumbbell row. Now, this is a very basic exercise, as with the rest of the exercises, but the principles are going to be similar to everything else we do here in MD Training 101. Let the muscle do the work. Don't use momentum to get the weight up. Now, you can do this exercise a couple of different ways. You can do it on a bench, or you can do it up against the rack. I prefer doing it up against the rack just for convenience purposes, but guys, remember, if you're in a busy gym where there's other people there, be courteous to the members around you, and sometimes that means taking the dumbbell back over to the bench. So what we're going to do for this particular exercise, find a weight that you're comfortable using. Again, I'm going to start off kind of light here for educational purposes, but I'm going to grab the weight. I am going to support myself either on the rack or on another dumbbell on this particular setup. Get set in the exercise. You're going to see an arch in my back. I'm going to start low, and I'm just bringing this dumbbell right up towards my pocket on my hip. Now, one thing I'm not doing is I'm not bringing it straight up here. I'm not trying to bring it too far back. Again, just a nice smooth motion right up to here. All right, again, if you're at a facility where doing the actual exercise up against the dumbbell rack isn't an option because of the setup of the rack or because it's too busy, using a bench is a great alternative. And sometimes if you're doing it at home, some guys are a little bit more comfortable with this. So again, the setup is going to be similar. I'm going to have the opposite knee that I'm doing the lift with on the bench. Hand is going to be bracing, giving me good support. I'm going to reach down, grab the dumbbell, and again, just pulling it back up towards my pocket. Head up, chest big, real basic lift, guys. One thing I'm not doing is I'm not starting here and heave-holing the weight up like that. I'm not using momentum, I'm using the back to do the work. All right, guys, and that's going to do it for today's back workout. Little recap. Started off with the deadlift. We went over to our wide grip lat pull down, back over to the bent over rows, close grip lat pull downs, and then finished off with the one arm dumbbell rows. Now, with our previous training videos, I generally recommend about 4 sets per exercise with that back workout. That would give you a total of about 20 sets. Now, that might seem like a little bit of high volume for some people, but the back is a big muscle group. You want to make sure you're hitting it from a lot of angles and making sure you're really working it good. Now, as with other exercises also, it's a good idea to get a few warm-up sets in before each exercise, or rather before the first exercise. It's just a matter of personal preference moving forward from there. But again, I'd at least hit 2 or 3 warm-up sets before your first exercise here in your back workout. Help avoid those injuries. That's going to do it for us, guys. Make sure you're doing a couple things when you come in the gym. Check your ego at the door, train hard, train heavy. You're going to see the results that you want. That's going to do it for us this week, guys. We'll check back with you next week for another episode of MD Training 101.